Hi, everybody. Hey, hope you've all had a little bit of a chance to take advantage of the great weather this weekend in Chicago. Boy, I don't know about you, as we finish up summer and kind of head into the fall, it's one of my favorite times of the year to enjoy outside. So, hope you've all been able to find a little bit of time to enjoy that with friends or family. Um, Actually, I just wanted to send you the short YouTube video with some final kind of summary thoughts on the first day exercise, which we obviously all began in Module 2, and we extended some discussions into Module 3 this week. But just want to share with you a little bit of, as I think I described to many of you, I had a situation. This scenario was built off a combination of a couple situations that I went through and some other people that I know went through, and we kind of aggregated into kind of one scenario. But more importantly, what I wanted to share with you is kind of key takeaways that I think many of you are beginning to get at as you commented in the discussions this week, and even on my follow-up question to all of you. As you remember, this exercise really was twofold. One was around self-awareness, really helping you all to get a sense of seeing how you come to participate in a meeting like that, and how you participate and how people experience you, to see yourself, which I think was a great experience from what I can tell for all of you, is that opportunity and some greater self-awareness you built through that process. The second piece of the exercise, given it was really, as we're talking about both self-awareness and beginning to move into the topic of engaging others, this exercise is built to create, obviously for the groups and that you all had, and the groups I've had in face-to-face classes doing that, a little bit of pressure on a fairly straightforward scenario, although one that's packed with a lot of, let's say, pressure being put on, in this case by the company, and in this case a private equity group that's putting pressure on this, has just hired a CEO, and there's a lot of pressure on performance requirements that need to be changed with this new CEO being hired. But obviously there was one kind of core objective, which was for all of you playing the role of the CEO and playing that together as a group, to devise an agenda for what that first agenda might look like, to meet with the people and meet them for the very first time. Also with some background provided, a lot of some various background on the company, but more importantly, that you as the CEO were both new to the company, new to the industry, and had never met the people, your leadership team. And what's interesting, and what I find in many of the classes as we go through the scenario and as groups go through the scenario, I think we all have this tendency, and many of your fellow students have the tendency to want to, in this first meeting, as a new leader, almost pack more in there than you need to, or you try to pack more content into the meeting than what's probably important in getting started. And that's really one of the major takeaways here for this exercise is, I think as I've described to many of you in some of my feedback on some of the discussions, was I call this, as you begin to establish yourself as a leader in a new organization, let's say in a setting even like this, I'm really looking for you. And I think as leaders, you need to slow down, begin to really engage and establish some relationships, begin to build the foundation of trust with the people you're now going to be leading and having the opportunity to lead for the first time. That's particularly important, because I think before you can have the credibility of even having reasonable opinions or judgment about this business or industry or the challenges it's having, especially given you don't come from this specific industry and don't have background in this scenario in this particular industry, it puts a premium on the process you use to begin to establish yourself as a leader and help people to get to know you, and even more importantly, you to get to know them and their expectations of you as well. So just sharing a couple personal thoughts on some things that I did in a very similar setting like this. One is, after I went around and had everyone introduce themselves, in fact, creatively, I asked them to interview one of their senior leadership counterparts and introduce a counterpart. One of my reasons for doing that was it really helped them, interesting enough, even though they'd worked together for varying periods of time, it helped them to get to know each other a little bit better. But they introduced a co-leader in that process, meaning one of their counterparts, and I asked them to interview them and introduce them based upon a number of different kind of criteria, what their name and role, a little bit like we did at the beginning of this course. Then I also provided some opportunity to introduce myself, and in a very similar way to the way they were introducing others. But then I also, one of the things I thought would be very helpful for me to establish myself as a leader was to take some time and allow them the opportunity to ask me almost not any questions they wanted to, with fairly limited boundaries around what those questions were going to be about. Um, and I think largely here it was, I recognized that one, I was new to all of them. Number two, many of them didn't really have a sense for what kinds of leadership and management and general management experience I'd had, what kinds of challenges maybe I'd faced before. And it allowed, as the questions began to come, and I think as I demonstrated, let's say, a level of warmth and openness to receiving and talking about and answering those questions, it really began to, I think, help support really what I was looking for, is that these people, my people, the team that I was beginning to establish a leadership relationship with, really appreciated my openness and my willingness to dialogue and discuss with them and help them, maybe give them some additional details about my background and experience that would help to provide them some confidence that I've got a frame of reference of how we begin the process together to get the business turned around, not individually by me, but collectively by us as the team. And then and by the way, that provided me much more in terms of benefit than I ever could have estimated. I thought it'd be helpful, but in particularly, it really helped to open up some great dialogue and great questions, and allowed the discussion to expand into some other important aspects for them of our relationship and our mutual expectations of each other. And I wrapped up the 2-hour meeting with really a brief overview of kind of my next 90-day thoughts and plan, with those including a lot of one-on-one meetings and dialogue with each of them individually to get individual perspectives. It also included some opportunities for me to meet their people and to open up and have an opportunity for their people to talk to me and meet a new leader in the organization, a new CEO. I also requested in each of the divisions an opportunity to meet some of their most important customers at that point, so I can get some customer perspective during as we were pulling together my understanding and building my understanding about the businesses and both its opportunities and challenges over the first 90 days. And then and that outline that I provided, kind of a wrap up in the 90-day plan, it was a fairly simplistic but overview of what kind of key milestones and things we would be accomplishing together that would review in detail with each of them in our one-on-one sessions that followed. Again, as you can kind of sense from what I'm describing here, the first meeting was so heavily based around beginning to establish the foundation of trust, relationships, collaboration between each other. Um, and to some degree, what I wound up finding was an indirect benefit of approaching it that way is that they certainly had felt a lot of pressure from the organization, and in this case, the private equity owners, about that performance needed to change. Being the new CEO coming in, I described to him, I really want to give us all a chance to take a deep breath. I'll take some of the pressure directly from the private equity group as I work to establish myself. And I'd like them, well, we all certainly want to feel the constructive pressure to perform and turn this business around together, that I'm willing to take some pressure off of them and take it on me so that I'm that direct interface with the private equity owner. And then I'm going to share with the private equity owner that we need time to establish our relationships together, as well as some time to begin to build and develop a plan. My intent was to really build a collaborative plan with the team and to be careful not to ready, fire, aim with some assumptions about the business as opposed to what understanding that I and we together collectively could build over the first 90 days to establish that plan together. So just kind of a general summary, but more importantly, don't miss the opportunity, I guess is my message as a new leader coming into, whether it be a portion of an organization, to lead an organization, to lead a new team, to, as I described, go slow to go fast. Take the opportunity on the front end to begin to establish yourself and meet the expectation from a followership perspective that your people are looking for from you. Provide the opportunity for both you to get to know them to get to know you, share mutual expectations, and build the foundation of how you're going to start working together from that point forward. I hope that helps you a little bit with this exercise. I really have enjoyed a lot of the dialogue I've had with other classes and students about it, because it provides a lot of rich learning outcomes, both in thinking about how to engage others as a leader, as well as how to get some great self-awareness yourself. hope you appreciate that. Just a little bit of my thoughts on that. Take care. Talk to you later.